Rev up your engines!
Well, about 24 years ago, Renault took over a bunch of Nissan, and now they're kind of coming apart after decades of falling apart. Now they're just financially saying, well, we're going to kind of cut most of our ties now. In a joint statement, the two firms said they are rebalancing their relationship. Turns out that Renault is selling the stock that they own. They're putting it in some kind of a trust or something that they're going to sell off eventually, because you understand the stock market. You can't just sell off tons of stock. The price will go down the toilet. Look what happened to old Elon. He was selling his stock to pay for Twitter, and then what happened? The stock's down 65% now. You can't just sell tons of stock. It destroys the market value of your stock. All kinds of side deals are going. Nissan agreed to invest in their electrification car unit of Renault, making electric cars. It's called Ampere. Oh, it's such a cute name, Ampere. So they're going to work together with electronics and battery technology, the big in thing now. And a university professor in Japan, his whole take on it, I agree with this guy's take. He says, and I quote, "It's a last-ditch attempt to save an alliance where the two partners didn't get along very well." You remember the Gosen guy? He was being taken to court in Japan, and then he snuck himself out in the box to Lebanon or wherever he came from in the Middle East, right? And he was blaming it on the French and the Japanese going after him, trying to blame him. I met a guy who actually worked for them the other day, and he told me he really liked Gosen, because he said he took a company, Nissan, that was really falling apart like crap, and got them at least to make some money for a while. So maybe Gosen is telling the truth. Maybe he was stuck between the French and the Japanese, and they never got along because the French wanted all their French stuff and the Japanese wanted theirs, and he was kind of stuck in the middle. Maybe it is true. Maybe the guy isn't making that up. Hey, maybe they were both trying to make him a scapegoat. And now, as a sidebar, I noticed now Gosen is saying he wants to go to court. Of course, he doesn't want to go to court in Japan. He wants to go in a neutral place to show it happened. The guy might have some legs to stand on that one. So away they go. They're starting to get a divorce. It might take decades to finalize it all, because they still have little deals going, hoping electric cars will save them. All these companies, they're hoping electric cars will save them. Ford, GM are saying, well, we're going to be the masters of electric cars. Oh, we're going to make so much money doing it. We're going to. Be careful of when people say going to, because a lot of times it's gone and went, and it never happens at all. CCHL Butter Churner says, Scotty, my 2016 Chevy Malibu is paint chipping and peeling already. Apparently it's a known defect with white GMs. Yes, it is, and you'll find GM won't do a darn thing about it. They'll just tell you that's a 7-year-old car, and oh, these things happen. Their quality is just garbage. It's just the way that it goes. And the problem with quite a few of the cars these days is, for pollution reasons, they don't want to use oil-based paint, lacquer, and stuff. So a lot of the paints today are water-based. Water-based paint stinks. I don't care what anybody says, even on a house. I like the old enamel. It would last and last. Now it's all water-based, and it doesn't last as long. It peels off. It fades. But that's the way it goes. They're making us buy this crap, so you got to keep painting it over and over again. It's the same thing with the cars. You won't get anywhere with Chevy. You can try, but you won't get anywhere. They really don't care. Bad quality, stay away from companies with bad quality. That's the only option you're going to have. They won't do anything about it. Damien Passur said, Scotty, hope you're doing great. What's your thought on getting a Jaguar? Well, first I'd say have a checkup to see if you're feeling okay. Because you might be losing your mind buying a Jaguar. Those things are endless money pits. They have been for quite some time. They're selling a name. That's it. If you like the way they look, do what some of my customers have done. Lease one. You buy one, you're going to lose your shirt when you sell. It's going to cost a fortune to fix when it breaks down. But if you really want one, lease. I had a customer leased one for a couple of years. Then she said, well, I got that out of my system. I'll never do that again, right? So if you really want, lease it. They're beautiful cars. They're fun to drive, but boy, they're endless money pits. And their values, you can get Jaguars cheap used because they're so expensive to fix. Everybody knows it. Buff Barnaby says several counties in Tennessee do require smog testing. His statement is false. Well, most of Tennessee doesn't do smog testing. They don't here in Clarksville. Now, they used to in Nashville, but they got rid of it. Now they don't, because people got peed off that they were getting ripped off, had to wait for this nonsense to them do the test. To my knowledge, most of them, they don't do it anymore. They did in Nashville for a while, but they stopped doing it now. They don't do it anymore. They found out that the Canadians years ago did a study, and they found that in this emissions testing, it turns out that billions of dollars a year are being wasted on unneeded repairs because, of course, if a guy has a license to not give you your sticker unless you pay him money to fix it, there's going to be a lot of crookedness going on. I saw that in Texas, in Houston. People were just cheating people left, right, and center. One inspection station was so bad, the troopers had to come and they did a sting and they caught the guy and they shut his station down. And he was just ripping people off. He ripped one of my customers off for $800 saying he did work that he didn't do, but he got it inspected by the end of the day so he could come and pick it up. You know, to me, that stuff's all scam. They should get rid of them all. It's just a way, it's a tax on you, and then the businesses get involved with ripping you off because they've got a license to do it, so they can rip you off and charge you for things you don't really need. Most of Tennessee doesn't. Maybe there's something left, but Nashville used to, but they don't anymore. Well, if you want to know who Consumer Reports picked as the most unreliable SUV out there, guess what? They picked the Jeep Wrangler with a diesel engine. I don't always agree with these Consumer Report companies because I really have no idea of what kind of parameters they pick of what's good and what's bad. But in this case, I got to agree. Every once in a while, what do they say? Even a clock that's broken is right twice a day. So, if you think about it, it kind of makes sense because that supposed eco-diesel, kind of a contradiction in terms there, kind of like the Canadians and their progressive conservative party, it's like the upside-down party, doesn't make much sense. But calling it an eco-diesel, well, I have to agree that sometimes they are eco-diesels because they break so much, they're extremely ecological. They don't burn any fuel. They just sit there and don't move. They have been using Italian diesel engines because Fiat bought Chrysler. Well, it's an Italian company now. Let's put in Italian diesel engines. Guess what? The first generation stunk. The second generation stunk. They're into the third generation now, and I've seen problems with them. And now they're saying after 2023, guess what? They're not going to be making the eco-diesel Wranglers. I guess even they realized they were crappy. They're still selling them now. You know, they're advertising, oh, get the Wrangler, the great Wrangler with eco-diesel. Just kind of watch out. They're not going to be making them after this year. They're going to stop it. And it only makes sense. People are rated as one of the worst ones out there. The diesel engines don't hold up. They're Italian diesel engines, which to me is patently absurd because they, for years in the past, Dodge, they have used Cummins diesels, which are excellent diesel engines, right? Last a long time, have lots of power, but, well, when the Italians bought them, Fiat bought Chrysler, we're going to put our Italian engines in. We don't care if they're crappy engines, but we make them ourselves and there's a bigger profit in it. Well, they obviously made a mistake there because after 2023, they're not going to be making these diesel Wranglers anymore. So if I were you, I wouldn't buy one. George Strobel says, Scotty, what's your opinion on plowing snow with a mid-sized truck? Thanks. Depends on the truck. You want a dependable truck, right? And if you're plowing, you need a reasonably powerful engine. If you're really going to plow, you're better off with a V8. You can find a good Ford F-150 or something, you want to plow with it. I don't advise plowing with 4 cylinders for sure. And even the V6s, you're going to have all that energy pushing snow, right? If you're going to, you want to find a truck that was set up, like you want the ones that have a towing package. The towing's for pulling, while pushing's the same thing. You want one with the stronger rear end, better set up for doing heavy weights. You just don't want a standard vehicle. You want one that has like the towing option, that has a heavier duty suspension because you're going to be lugging that giant blade around and pushing stuff. And really, if you're going to be doing serious, you're going to need a 4-wheel drive one so you don't get stuck. You could spend a lot of money. A lot of times, I know guys who plow snow, they don't make any money at it because 1, it doesn't snow all the time. 2, it costs a lot of money to get a good truck. A lot of times, you're not going to make any money plowing snow. So, I mean, I wouldn't really want to get into that of business. And if you're thinking about doing it part-time, well, then what are you going to do? You're going to buy a used vehicle. You better check it out good before you buy it. You get a worn-out truck and start plowing, it's going to break and you're going to really be losing money on the deal. Viva Vida says, Scotty, whenever I put my blinkers on and step the brake, I get the reverse sound beep. Beep, beep. How do I fix it? You got to short somewhere, and it's shorting up to the backup lights. I would start by checking the brake switch, see if there's any kind of a short in that, and also check your ground system. Check the negative ground wiring, because if you have a ground short in any car, systems that normally aren't related can start acting up. Like you beep the horn and the windshield wipers come on. That's always some kind of a ground short. The ground system shorting out, and then it starts activating other devices that aren't supposed to be even connected to that. Because, of course, the whole ground system of the car is connected. Your car is negative electricity. All the metal is negative electricity. So when the ground system starts acting weird, it can feed back through that ground to other systems and make them act up. So you might check the ground wires, too. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.